Hi, I'm Tina Ann Middleton, author of the Forestville series. I'd like to welcome you today to the Writing Journey, where we inspire and encourage each other in the craft of writing. Today I'm going to talk about my beginnings in writing and self-publishing and the lessons I learned from those first two books. We'll be right back. When my husband and I first came up with the idea of doing a YouTube channel, I'll admit what we were looking at is promoting my brand as an author. But as we've thought about, okay, what are we going to do on this channel? What's the name of it? What's it about? We decided to make it the Writing Journey, something for encouraging new writers and those who want to be writers. Today, I'd like to share with you, and in the next episode I'm going to share with you, about my books and things I've learned in my journey in writing and self-publishing. So let's get started. The first book that I wrote and self-published is this little book right here, Nikki Dog. We had to put our little dog down. That was the first time I'd ever done that. And it was hard. I cried all the way home. A few days later, I sat down and I just started typing up little stories about Nikki, how we got her, her tricks, that kind of thing. It was more therapy than anything else. But my husband said, you know, you can self-publish that on Amazon. And so I fixed it up. And he gave me a picture, and we put it on Amazon as an ebook. Had a few sales, mostly friends and family. There was somebody in England that bought it. I thought that was pretty cool. Let me read to you a little bit. I'm going to read to you from the back of the book and then a little bit from inside, just to give you a feel for what the book is like. Nikki Dog is the story of a little canine who was a delight to her family from the moment they brought her home. From adorable puppyhood to learning tricks to chasing bunnies just for the thrill of the run, Nikki was one sweet, smart dog. And I thought nothing would be better than to write and read to you the first chapter. Something good from something bad. In many of the romance books I have read, there was a part in which the heroine falls and sprains her ankle. The hero swoops her up in his arms and carries her away. Romantic, right? However, when I twisted my ankle, I learned there is nothing romantic about a sprained ankle. It hurts and it turns strange colors. But God did use my sprained ankle to give us an incredible gift. Our family had been looking for a puppy for several months. In fact, that's what I was thinking about as I came out of my physical therapy session for my neck. I had 2 herniated discs in my neck, and we were trying physical therapy to treat them. After that day's session, I was walking out to my car, thinking about the stops I wanted to make on the way home, one of which was at the local shelter to look at puppies. I was also chatting with another patient when my foot found the curb I had forgotten about and painfully twisted. The older gentleman I was chatting with put out his hands to try to catch me, but I didn't want him to injure himself. Somehow I was able to catch myself and not fall. I went back inside and hobbled around a bit to try to determine if I had hurt myself. At first it seemed I had not, so I decided to go ahead and drive home. As I drove, however, the pain started and built in intensity. That short drive seemed to stretch on forever, especially since I was driving a stick shift. I felt incredibly stupid, spraining my ankle just from not paying attention to where I was walking. I went to my doctor, who x-rayed the ankle and foot to make sure I had not broken them. I had not. Then I went home and called my friend Diane Mitchell, who was a nurse, and who I knew had some crutches I could borrow. A little note here, Diane Mitchell had all kinds of medical stuff that she kept at her house that she would let us borrow. A couple of weeks later, I called her back to let her know I was probably going to need the crutches a little while longer than I first expected. We chatted for a while, and I mentioned we were looking for a puppy. She told me about her in-laws' dog who had just surprised them with a litter of puppies. Apparently, she had had the puppies and kept them hidden under a piece of farm machinery at the Mitchell's dairy farm until they were old enough to walk. For some unknown reason, she also taught the puppies to run away whenever someone came around. The mother was a purebred, specially trained for cattle border collie. The father was a purebred rat terrier. Feeling quite excited, I called Mrs. Mitchell to ask about the puppies. She was quite willing to give us one of the puppies, but said she would have to catch one of them to get them used to people. We stayed in touch over the next few weeks as she caught one of the puppies, a little female, and got her used to being around people. She was unable to catch any of the others. Finally, the day came when we could come get our puppy. It was a beautiful day in March when my husband, our 2 daughters, and I went to pick out a puppy from the Mitchell's dairy farm. One of the puppies peeked out from under the porch, and we picked her up and carried her around. The rest of the puppies were sleeping in a barrel turned on its side. When they saw us, they scrambled to get as far back in the barrel as possible. We had already fallen in love with the puppy we were carrying around, though, so we decided she was the one for us. We found Mr. Mitchell and his son Dave and told them we had found the puppy we wanted. After a brief chat, our family loaded up the car and headed home with the newest member of our household. On the way home, we debated a new name for our puppy. We had adopted a puppy that was a Chow Australian cattle dog mix the year before from a young couple who had found they couldn't keep her. When we got that puppy, we named her Nikki. She was a cute little thing with soft fur that was cream-colored and a little black mask. Her little face seemed to always have a curious expression, like she was saying, "What you doing? Can I do it too?" She also was very unhappy being an inside dog. This little dog would sit at the window and cry to go outside. When we took her out, she would lay down on the grass or on the sidewalk to make it hard for us to pick her up and take her in. We knew we couldn't keep that puppy. We needed one that would be happy as an inside dog. When we took our first Nikki to the animal shelter, we told them what happened and that she needed to go to a family with a fenced yard or a farm where she could stay outside and play. I think she was adopted at an adoption day at a local store not too long after we gave her up. After that experience, we decided to wait a while for another puppy. We didn't start looking again for about a year. My husband Darren and I had always liked the name Nikki, but we had used that name for the puppy we had to give up. But as we all talked, we decided there was no reason we couldn't use the name again. One of our daughters asked the puppy if she liked the name Nikki. She said it looked like the puppy nodded her head. When we got home with Nikki, our youngest daughter Jennifer stayed home with me and with Nikki, while Darren and our oldest daughter Kimberly went to the grocery store to get some puppy food. Funny thing, we had a crate for our new puppy, but not food for her. Jennifer and I gave Nikki a bath, which she hated. Then we played with her, held her, and just generally showered her with love. Another book that I wrote shortly after this one is this little compilation of poems and essays. It's called Love and Grace. Now it's divided into 2 sections, poems and essays. I have written since I was 12 years old, usually poems, but I wrote some essays too. And what I would do with them is I would write them, I would show them to a couple people, put them in a drawer, and forget about them. So after we had published Nikki Dog, I started thinking about all those poems and essays. And I dug out as many of them as I could find. I had some on the computer, and I put them together in this little book. So let me read to you a little bit from this one. Love and Grace is a collection of inspirational poems and essays written through the seasons of life. From poems praising God for His greatness to essays about life's issues, this book was written to share God's love and grace. I'm going to read the title poem to you. This is one of the first poems I ever wrote. It shows my love for imagining places and scenes where I would love to be. Even now, I can see the waterfall and trees and feel myself breathing in the air and the essence of this place. Down by the waterfall, the trees, they stand so tall, spreading love throughout the place. Love, beauty, peace, and grace. Thank you, God, for such a place. No worry, no sorrow, no fear of tomorrow. Thank you, God, for this place that is so filled with love and grace. Now, I learned some lessons with these first two books. One of them published both print and ebook at the same time. When we did it, we said, oh, well, we'll just do the ebooks. That would be the best. And that's what we did. But I know a lot of people that they want to hold a book in their hands. So we decided a year later, we'll go ahead and do them as print books. And I could not find some of the image files that we had used for the covers. We had to start all over again and do the whole process again for the print book. Since we could not find those files, we had to look for others. So when you look on Amazon, especially for Nikki Dog, I think we may have found the one on this one, but my husband did a little bit different design for me. He's very creative that way. For Nikki Dog, the cover for the ebook is different than the cover for the print book. Also, I found myself looking at the formatting of it. I don't know, maybe as authors we're never quite satisfied. Maybe it's because these are my first books. But I'm looking at them thinking, well, you know, I could format that better. Maybe instead of double spacing, just do a space and a half. I'd also like to, I've been told I should do this, I'd like to expand this book, tell you a little more about our little dog. So sometime in the future, I hope to redo both of these books and release them as second editions with more material in there. Make them look a little bit better. Nikki Dog and Love and Grace were my introduction to writing and self-publishing. Like I said, I'd written off and on for years, but I didn't do anything with what I wrote. These two books signaled the real beginning of my writing journey. And I hope to continue that journey, and I hope you'll join me. So keep writing and have a great week.